What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be doing something a little bit simpler than what I usually do. It's going to be an oil change, and this video is mostly for the people that just got the Evo. I know a couple of you that are my viewers watch my channel because of the Evo, so I'm going to do something basic and I'll show you guys how to do it because this is one of the things that you can save money on. Tools that I'm going to be using for this video are jack, 2 jack stands, 5W30 synthetic motor oil, an oil catch can, and the filter itself, which is an OEM part. It's from Mitsubishi and the part number is MZ690116. So that's the part. And then I'm going to be using a basic set of socket wrenches. So I believe it's a 17mm socket for the oil retaining bolt. So let's go outside and I'll show you guys what to do exactly. Alright, to get things started, open the door. And the way to open up your engine bay is this little lever right here. Pull it, you should hear a little click. Alright. Go to the front. And the engine release latch is right here. Right there. Push that to the left, then lift up your hood. Use this little metal thing and put it in place. Then we're good for that. What I usually do is I open up the engine oil cover cap just so that there is a little bit of airflow when the engine oil is being drained out. Alright, so this is the thing one of the viewers pointed out. I am jacking it up by the wrong spot. Apparently, it's not actually this portion. You're actually supposed to be jacking it up on this spot right here. I don't know, it seems really flimsy. It's a thin piece of metal right here, and it goes all the way down the car, but I think that's the actual jack point. So I'll follow the viewer's suggestion, and then I'm going to put the jack right here. I'm gonna lower it really gently. Alright, seems like the car is holding. And let's go to the other side. Whenever you're placing jack stands, make sure to always put it on the same side, as in the same distance from the tires, so that the car is even. Then, as an added security measure, I put the jack up so that just in case the jack stand fails, I have a little bit of a safety net. Another tool that I forgot to add that I'm going to use for this project is this little floor crawler. This, as well as a funnel. This is to put in the oil after the oil is fully drained out. Now I'm going to roll under the car and show you guys how it looks underneath. Okay, so normally this whole area right here is all blocked off by this kind of material. It's the undercarriage protector, but I ended up tearing it off because I'm under here so often that it's just a bother to take off every time I'm underneath. So now I'll show you guys where to unbolt and where to put your oil filter can. So roll underneath. Later on, we're going to be pulling this off because this is the oil filter. It's going to be twisted off. But this is the oil pan itself right here. And then when you're underneath, it's on the further side. It's this bolt right here that you're going to be taking off. When you're taking this bolt off, it's going to shoot out oil, so be careful. And then make sure that you put the oil can a little bit further out because it's going to shoot out pretty far. It doesn't leak like that, but it shoots out. Hopefully you guys can see this in my unflattering position. The bolt's right here, so the oil, it's going to shoot out at least right there. This really gets messy, and hopefully it doesn't splatter too much, but here we go. So put the 17mm in, then counterclockwise to loosen it up. You might have to hit it a couple times because it does get a little hard to undo this. Alright, so after that first couple of hits, it should be fine. Take it out, and when you're doing it, try to push inwards because the oil will shoot out. And always be sure before you do this, cool down the engine a little bit so that it doesn't burn you. Alright, there it goes. Alright, I got a little bit of oil on me, but this isn't too bad. So for now, all we have to do is wait for about 20 minutes or so. And then we'll just wait on it to finish draining. Alright, so we're pretty much done with the draining of the oil from the oil pan, and there is one more thing that is left, and that is the filter. When you pull out the filter, there will be a lot of oil falling as well, so make sure to put the oil catch can right underneath it. So right now I'm going to wipe down the rest of the oil that's dripping, and then put on the 17mm bolt. That way I don't have oil all over the driveway. And back on the bolt. Hand tighten with the socket wrench. You don't have to do it way too hard, just snug and tight. Alright, and that's good. Now let's move on to the oil filter. I'm going to put the oil catch can right here, right underneath the filter. Then I'm going to twist it off. Sometimes you're going to have to use a tool. There are specifically made tools for the oil filters, but I didn't want to buy one because I could just rip it off. So here we go. So it is a little bit of hard work to pull off the oil filter, but it is possible. Here we go. Alright, so it's loosened. Alright, and wow, that is a lot of oil. It's still pretty warm after I let it cool down for an hour. So make sure not to burn yourself and let the car cool down before you do an oil change. Alright, there we go. Oh, that's hot. This is how the oil filter area looks like. So the oil filter itself screws onto right here, and then that's how it filters the oil right in this area. I'm going to give it a wipe down. Then when I'm putting on the new one, I'm going to put a little bit of the new oil just to make it a little bit more lubricated. And it looks like it's pretty much done because there's no more oil coming out, and I'm going to put in the new filter. I'll show you guys how I do that. The new oil and the new oil filter. The new oil filter should come with a little plastic wrapping. I'm going to use the cap itself to put a little bit of oil so I could put it on the oil filter and the area that the oil filter goes in. Alright, perfect. So you don't really need that much. I just wanted a very little amount just so that I could wipe it on the area that the oil filter goes and on the oil filter itself. Now I'm going to put the new oil filter in its place. When you guys do this, be sure to not tighten it too much because it's nearly impossible to take out. Alright, so just hand tighten it and it should be good like that. So even though I tightened it only to that extent, earlier I was struggling to pull it out and it was about the same strength. So it should be good with about your hand strength. We're pretty much done with the bottom portion. That's all you need to do. Then now let's go to the top portion where we put in the oil. Now that we're at the engine bay, this is where you put the new oil. So I'm gonna put the funnel right here and then add the new oil. Put that off to the side, the funnel. It won't go in all the way because there's something blocking it right there. Gonna put it in like that. Then I'm gonna add the oil. For the Evo, it is recommended 5 quarts, but there is some residue oil, so I'll probably put in about 4.5 to 4.8 quarts. On the jug itself, there is a little meter and I'll just be eyeballing it. In other states where it's cold and there's snow, you might not be using 5W30. So depending on the area that you live in, make sure to use the proper oil viscosity. A little bit more, if you guys can see that little level right there. That should be good. Remember, for oil changes, you can always add more, but you can't take it out unless you do a whole nother oil change. So don't put too much. Add as you go, and I'm gonna check the oil level after I turn on the engine, and then I'll show you guys how it looks. Before I check the oil level, I'm gonna put the car level to the ground and take out the jack and the jack stand. That way I have an accurate reading of the oil level. I lied, so I'm going to check the oil level right now before I turn on the car, because it's suggested by the manufacturer that you check the oil level when it's cool. So the way to check the oil is to take a clean paper towel and then take out the oil dipstick, which is this thing for Evos. Pull it out, and what you do is wipe it down. One thing that I did want to point out while doing this, there's a little line right there. That's actually some sort of coating, I think, and that's not your actual oil, because if you try to wipe it, it doesn't disappear. I'm not sure if that's only mine, but I feel like this is a normal thing for all dipsticks. So wipe it down and then stick it inside the hole that it belongs in. After you do that, check if it's in between the 2 holes from earlier. So, not sure if you guys can see that, but it's pretty much in between both holes, and that's the perfect oil amount. Now that you've put in the dipstick, now you can close up the engine bay and then go to the interior and reset the odometer for the oil change. The last portion of the oil change is to turn on your car. Make sure all of those warning signs are gone. Press the info button. And then it should come out with your MPG. Wow, 20.5. That is not bad at all, but that's pretty much all freeway driving. I'm gonna have to switch through the screens by pressing the info button. So what I do is I keep it on trip A and trip B. What you do is you go on that screen, you hold the info button. That should make it to 0. Trip B, same thing. And that's how I keep track of my oil changes. Earlier it said 1,000 something miles, but that's not the true mileage. Because of another mod that I did, I had to take off the battery, and that ended up resetting the miles that I had saved on trip A and trip B. With that, you're pretty much done with the oil change, and congratulations if it's your first time doing it. But I felt like this is one of the maintenances that you should be able to do on your own. This saves a lot of money because whenever you're doing synthetic oil changes at shops, they charge you at least $60, $70. And if you do it yourself, it's probably more closer to $30, $40. So it does save in the long run. For each oil change that you do with synthetic oil, it should last about 3,000 to 6,000 miles. I usually change mine about 3,000 miles, but it really depends on the way you drive. I do granny my car a lot, but there are times I do have fun. So I just do it every 3,000 just in case. So I hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Later!